Hey everyone, welcome back to my Loom kitchen, and today I'll be showing you how to make these Loom Eclairs. You can see the filling comes out on one side, and I have two different types of icing tops, simpler one and a more prominent icing top. These are pretty simple to make. If you click on the link below this video, it will take you to the recipe page where you can check out the number of bands needed for this creation. After that, come back and let's begin. The first item that we would need to pre-make would be our icing edge. You get 4 of your icing colored bands. Take 2 bands, wrap it around your hook twice. Get another 2, same color, pull it through. And that's your icing edge. We will need 18 pieces of these, so if you can set them aside and we'll get back to them later. Another item we need to pre-make would be the filling. So if you could get 6 bands of your filling color. Take a single band, wrap it around your hook once. Then you take 2 bands, pull it through. Take another 2, pull that through. Then a single band, pull it through. We will be needing 8 pieces of this filling chain. So if you could make those 8 pieces ahead and set them aside for later. So to start, we'll be using our regular loom. If you could remove the center row, and if you have the remaining 2 rows facing on opposite directions, my front row faces to the right and my back row is facing to the left. This is the first version that I'll be showing you with the less prominent icing on top. Now we'll be working on 18 pegs total. So let's mark that off. 2 bands of your icing color here. And 2 bands over here. So that will mark off the 9 pegs on each side. Then you take 2 more bands. And let's just fill it up diagonally from left to right. Now, if you don't want to have any other icing on top of your main icing, you could just then fill it up with plain icing bands across, opposite to X out these bands that we just laid out. Or if you wanted to create that little icing line on top, take 2 bands of your second icing color, wrap it around your hook twice. Now you take your main icing color and pull it through, and that's what you're going to lay out as excess. You could use wrap bands like what I just showed you now, or you could use beads if you have any beads that you'd like to use. So there, that's the initial setup for the first variation of our eclair. So this is the second version, and this is the one where you have the icing sticking out on top. You'll need to take your second icing color, 3 bands, wrap that around your hook twice, take a single band of the same color, pull it through, create a slip knot. Now you go through each X, put your hook under the first X, grab that end of the slip knot that tied that ball off, and just slip it over, how you do a button. There. And I have some pre-made balls here. Pull it from under and slip that ball through the slip knot end. And so you just fill up all these excess with those balls in the center. And that's how to start off the second icing version. Now you're going to lay down your double bands all around. We're going to need 2 rounds of these bands. This is round 1. After laying down those bands, you're going to lift all the lower bands up and over. We're going to need 1 more round of this icing color. So pause your video, finish up 1 more round. Same process, unpause when you're done, and we'll resume from there. After 2 rounds, this is how the icing top should look. Now we're going to get our pre-made icing edges, and we're just going to lay all those bands around the 18 pegs. After laying those bands down, just going to lift all the lower 4 bands up and over. Okay. After lifting your bands up and over, so this is how your icing top should look, whether you have the first variation or the second. Now we can move on to the pastry portion. We're going to have to weave our pastry bands all around. So put your hook through that first peg, pull 2 of your pastry color bands through. So I'm using metallic gold. Replace that peg with one end and place the other end here temporarily. Go to the second, 2 bands, pull through, place one end on the previous peg and replace that peg with the other end. 2 bands, pull through, one end on the previous, the other end replaces that peg. Just going to repeat that all throughout. It's the last peg, pull it through. Now take the first band that you placed temporarily on the side and just bring it over here. So we're just going to need 1 round of double bands of your pastry color or the crust color. Just lay down your double bands and then we're going to lift all the lower bands up and over again. Please feel free to pause your video at any time if you need to catch up. Okay, so after 1 round of your pastry or crust color bands, we're going to have to weave the filling color but only on one side, because if you see that we just have our filling coming out only in one area. So I'm going to be weaving my filling color on this side only. So I'm going to place my hook through this first peg and take 2 bands, pull that through, place one end down. I'm going to place this here first. Then another 2 bands, pull through, replace that peg with one end. Other side goes in the previous peg. 2 bands, pull through. Same weaving motion, but just on this side. The last one goes here, back here. We're going to start adding on our filling. But before that, because we only pre-made the filling for this front row, let's do these sides first. So with this extended weaved in band, just place your hook through. My filling color is actually a mixture of white and the green because I wanted like a lighter pistachio color. So with your hook through that other end of that weaved in band, pull that through. Then the second, pull through. Now the last, you get one color of your pastry color, mine's gold, and place that end here. But on this side, where that other end is, just place it on that first hook. Now for this end, single band for my filling colors. It's the same thing as what you pre-made for your filling, except that the last one will be a pastry color. And that goes on the ends. Now I'm going to take all my pre-made filling and I'm just going to lay those on the pegs in front. Now we're just going to lift the lower bands on the front row where the filling is. On this one, you're only going to lift the lower 2 and the rest will be the lower 4. So after lifting the filling bands up and over in the front, we're going to have to weave the pastry colored bands back in the front again. So on the first peg, Put your hook through, pick up those two bands, place one end on that hook. Now place your hook on that back portion, get the other end of those two bands and just place it over here. Then we'll do the same method as before for the old one. Pull two bands through. One end replaces that peg, the other end goes on the previous peg. And there, we are actually almost done. So if you want to push it up just so you can see how it looks so far. Now we just have to lay down your pastry color all around, double bands on the 18 pegs. This is the start of the first round. We'll be needing a total of 2 rounds. So after we lay our double bands all around these 18 pegs, we're going to lift all the lower bands up and over. And I need you to repeat that one more time for a total of 2 rounds. So pause your video, finish up this round 1, and do one more round after. Unpause when you're done, and we'll resume from there. So this is our pastry 2 rounds after. Now we're going to do our last round, but this time all single bands. Just lay single bands all around the 18 pegs. Now lift all the lower bands up and over, leaving only 2 bands on each peg. So we're getting ready to close this. We're going to start off on this peg, but first we go to that peg across, place your hook through, pick up that lower band from the inside, the 2 bands, and bring it over to that starting peg. Place your hook through, push back those upper 2 bands, pick up the lower band, move it forward, hook through, push back upper 2 bands, pick up the lower band, and move it forward. And we're going to do that all throughout. Last one. You only have one. Bring it to that starting peg. Place your hook through. Single band. Pull it through. Tie it off in a slip knot. Now you can help it off the loom. Turn it inside out. You can leave it open under like that, but I actually prefer to close it up. So take your hook and then just squeeze the bottom portions together. Take one end on each side. Single band, pull it through. Create a slip knot. Now you're just gonna go sewing it shut. Now take one area on each side again. Put your hook through and pull that sewing thread through. If you need to extend your sewing thread, just grab another band and pull it through that thread, that sewing band, and create a slip knot. And go another portion to close your hole. There. And that's it. And just pick a spot where you can tie it off. And pull this end here. Tie that off. And I'm just gonna hide the tail end. Anywhere inside. So that's it. So shape it up a bit. So I hope you like it. Enjoy your Loom Eclairs.